Fight on. Yeah, I've been waiting for this. Welcome back to the Bottom of the Pit podcast, where we look to the moon and swap our palettes. I am, as per usual, Mick Whoopi Goldberg. And today I have on with me, you know him, you love him, the one, the only
Loboberry Crunch. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is wonderful to be back here.
Loboberry Crunch has joined me in the booth today. How are you feeling today?
Man, I feel fantastic. I love doing these. I love being here. I appreciate you always inviting me.
Well, I'm happy you're here today because we have a very special topic today. We are going to talk about a company that is on absolute flames right now, in a good way. They are over the moon right now. They are front and center, I think, as far as active franchises and active games go. And that is ArcSys. Now, I want to ask you, what are, just as broad as you can right now, since we're just starting, what are your overall general feelings towards ArcSys?
Oof. Man. General feelings is a lot to say. I mean, it's one of my favorite companies. I'm not going to lie to you. Among the gaming and fighting game franchises, I mean, I feel like they're just as up there as, like, you see, like, with Capcom, for example. I mean, think about, like, the names they got on their belts. You know, you got the Guilty Gear series, Blaze Blue, Dragon Ball, you know, and they got an up and new coming franchise that they're starting with, DNF Fighter. Like, I feel like this is, like, I'm gonna be real, this is all near and dear to my heart. You know, because I loved Guilty Gear back in the day. And I feel like just seeing everything that came from this company is just, it's just as you just put it, they're on fire right now.
They're
flames,
on fire, bro. Man. They're killing it right now. We have never seen a consistency like this from them in a long time. They have They have way more games under their belt than just fighting games. They're way more than just a fighting game company at this point. Well, they always have been, but I just feel like, man, as far as their fighting games go, they are just hitting home run after home run after home run.
Nah, man, you gotta really sit there and you think about it, like, as a whole. Like, I think that when I think of, like, especially fighting game companies, you go back in the day, like, the only other company that I can think of that was pumping games out left and right, you got to give it to Capcom.
They had a lot of franchises at one point.
You know, Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, you know, like, I'm drawing one right now. The one was the high school kids.
Oh, Rival Schools.
There it is. Thank you.
Rivals, they're in school. Like, what is that called?
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, then you know, from then we had, like, all the crossover games that came out of Capcom, the X-Men versus Street Fighter, eventually Marvel versus Capcoms, and they were pumping those games out, like, left and right. But I feel like right now, I mean, you know, you could correct me if I'm wrong, if you think differently, but I feel like ArcSys is kind of getting into that area right now,
where they're just pumping games left and right. With different franchise. I don't want to say, like, pumping games out, because that makes it sound like it's like factory, like they're kind of just, like, cruising right now.
Oh yeah.
All the games that they have out are, like, super duper high quality. But you're right, they have so many different franchises just on the move right now, or they were on the move a couple months ago, and they just, like, dropped off, like Fighters, or Grand Blue was just, I guess Fighters and Grand Blue were at CEO this weekend. So I guess even then, you know, how many games right now does ArcSys alone have at these big tournaments? Dragon Ball Fighters, Grand Blue, Guilty Gear, Strive right now. It's 3 games from one company at one tournament, every tournament.
Yeah, that's big stuff to me, man. I mean, yeah, when I went pumping, I didn't going to sound like they were just like, oh yeah, we're just throwing games out. Like, obviously, the best thing about what they do is they release some very high quality like stuff. Like I love what they're doing. I love the styles that they use, and I feel like everyone can jump in and everyone's just having a good time. Like, I mean, that's kind of what it's all about, man. Just enjoying the games, having fun, seeing the different styles and matchups. Like, it's crazy.
If there's one thing that I think I've said this a million times, that ArcSys is really good at, it's adding a lot of personality and flair to their characters and gameplay compared to more grounded fighters like, say, Street Fighter and Tekken.
Oh, 100%. I could agree to that.
And but the funny thing about ArcSys, and I want to kind of go into the history of Arc System Works just for a little bit, because they actually have a very interesting backstory before like they even found their foothold in fighting games with their Guilty Gear series. Like when they've been in the game since the 80s. Can you believe that? Like 88 is when they dropped.
Wasn't the game they dropped? Well, it was Double Dragon, right? The Revenge, right?
They had a Double Dragon game, yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Double Dragon: The Revenge. Yeah, you're right. Damn.
New game for a minute. They didn't change their name to Arc System until '91. It was Arc. I guess it was Arc Company Limited. Was what they started with, and they only had 8 people. There's 8 people on their team when they started. And this was, I guess, back in the 80s. Was it 40 years ago almost? Jesus Christ.
Oh man, I'm
8 developers.
I'm an 80s baby, so you're making me feel super old.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But when you think about it, they started with 8 people, and now they have multiple branches of their company making multiple different series, and they started with 8 people. So when you hear stuff like that, it's like, hey guys, don't give up on your dreams. See what Arc System's doing right now? They started with 8 people. Your company will get there if you stay focused. And stay focused, ArcSys did. They cut their teeth on Sailor Moon games. A big game they made was called Pizza Pop. I don't even know what that is, but I wrote it down because it sounds amazing. They did Ghouls and Ghosts. They
Michael
helped,
Jackson Moonwalker.
Yeah, and Moonwalker. Yeah, and they helped with Battletoads. Alongside Rare. And they made a Sonic game called Sonic Drift. Sonic game I've never played.
Oh, I remember that game. It was on the Game Gear.
The Game Gear, see, that's beyond me. But like, people have been aware of ArcSys without being aware of ArcSys. Like, they didn't just like start with like all these games. But I found what was interesting in my research is they actually, like, back in those olden days, they did create a fighting game before even Guilty Gear called Bishoujo Denjin Sailor Moon. And that was a fighting game. And I've actually, me and the Jamaican Shake, we actually watched a tournament of that game one time. And it's broken. But it's an old game, so it's broken. So how do you feel about the storied history of ArcSys that I think people don't give so much credit to compared to, say, Capcom or Namco?
I mean, this is where, like, when we see like companies that you could say that started off as sleepers, eventually evolving into something like you just said. Like, this was a company that started out with 8 people, making games for other game companies that obviously became bigger. So it was clear, like, in a sense, they were very much like the little guy that just kept getting their name out there, kept working on these titles. Again, Double Dragon, Ghosts and Ghouls, the Michael Jackson Moonwalker game. These were games that obviously, like, I grew up with, I played, and I'm going to tell you right now, when I was a kid, I didn't care who the company was. I was just having fun. And then just a couple years later, right into the late 90s, they came out with one of my personal all-time favorite games to play, Guilty Gear. I remember being in this was before it was called GameStop. I was in Funkoland.
I remember Funkoland.
I was in Funkoland with my mom. And it was one of those, like, she only let me go in there because like she was running some errands. I was a good boy and I wanted to go to the store, so I got to pick it. And I remember browsing the shelf and I remember picking this game up in this interesting looking CD case. Now, this was really before I knew like about the difference between like fighting games. Like, I saw the characters on the cover and they looked very much like the Fatal Fury characters from the movie. So I was like, wow, this anime style looking fighting game looks really, really cool. And I remember paying $59.99 for that goddamn game.
Jeez.
And
even back then, that's how much it was.
That was $59.99, my friend. And luckily, we lived in Delaware, so tax-free shopping.
Tax-free, yeah.
So, and I remember my mom grunted and was just upset at the idea of even buying this game. But she made a promise to me. I took that game home. I popped it in. And it was just like a whole other world, man. The music, the characters, the styles, just the flashiness. Like even doing like a simple combo just seemed so like satisfying. And I just loved it, man. Like some of my fondest memories probably from starting out in my fighting game days, you know, back then kind of possibly came from the Guilty Gear. I probably fell more in love with 2D fighter games because of Guilty Gear itself. And then just that company just kept going on. Like next thing you know, there was like Guilty Gear, then it was Guilty Gear X, and then Guilty Gear Plus. You know, Guilty Gear X, I think it was like 1.2 or something, 1.5, and then X2. Like, and then there were other games that I didn't even really think about that they made. Dragon Ball Z Supersonic Warriors. That was another
Warriors, one.
Yeah. Fist of the North Star. PS2.
Oh, the fighting game?
Yeah.
That game is janky.
It's janky, but that's what I'm saying. Like these were titles that I feel like growing up, I would have never really known. Like this one company was connected to so many things. And being an anime fan myself, like I'm a big Dragon Ball fan, and I loved playing those games. And then eventually, like obviously, like seeing where they kind of came from, and now, like you said. This was a company that was only like 8 people deep, and now look where they're at. Like 3 of their franchises are like mainstays in the tournament scenes.
Mainstays. They're top tier games. Well, yeah, Fighters and Guilty Gear and yeah, Grand Blue right now. Yeah, top tier. All top tier games right now. Now, you said that you bought Guilty Gear like a physical copy of the first Guilty Gear in FuncoLand.
Yes, sir.
Which is very unique from probably most of the people nowadays, you know, who can play digitally. It's super cheap on Steam and stuff. That's how I played it first. I never played the first Guilty Gear. When it first came out, I never played. I didn't even play. Seriously, the second one, X2 or Plus R or whatever. When that first dropped, you know, I had to go back and experience Guilty Gear for myself once Xrd came out. So how was it experiencing all of this in real time? Going from in real time, Guilty Gear 1, you know, you experience all these characters, it's brand new. The world, the atmosphere, the aesthetics, and then just seeing it evolve. How was that?
For me, it was like watching like I'm gonna put this as it's gonna sound as weird as possible. It's like watching your first Pokemon evolve. Like you put all that work in, and you finally see that Pokemon evolve into that next level, and then you finally see like their final form. And you always have that like that bond throughout the entire game. Like, come on, how many people actually get rid of their starter Pokemon when they play the games? Come on, let's be real here.
I'm friends with anyone who would release their starter. Like, I would unfriend anyone in a heartbeat that told me they released their starter in a second. I don't care how much time we got.
No love, out of here. Bye.
That is psychopathic behavior.
I could agree with that, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like going from like Gear to X to the X2 to the Reload to Accent Core. Like it's great because I got to see a franchise that I really, really loved and grew up with just to continue to evolve and keep going. And I honestly think what broke my heart was how long it took us to get a new Guilty Gear game. Like, obviously back then it wasn't unheard of for a series to like get remade and like small like portions of it like get changed up, but not really too much detail. I mean, obviously, like look at Street Fighter. Like Street Fighter, we had Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, Hyper Fighting Street Fighter 2. You know what I mean? Like I can't even count how many iterations it probably had.
Yeah, like the expansions.
Like to this day, I still like. What was it? The last one? It was like Hyper Super Dimensional Street Fighter 2 Ultimate Tournament Edition. Like I don't know, but like to see the game continue to go, it was just so satisfying, and to see games that branched off from it, like I loved the Blaze Blue series. Like absolutely. Like when I saw Blaze Blue, I got immediate Guilty Gear vibes, and I was like, oh my god, what is this game? This guy, you know, big sword, very attitudey, you know, like I was like, oh man, very soul bad guy, like Rocked in a Bledge, really like him, you know, and Jin, you know, regal looking and everything like that, very Kai Kisuke. And I was like, wow, it's like they reborn the characters in like different roles, but like very much still the same. And I loved it. I then seeing Blaze Blue kind of go through that same transition of Blaze Blue Calamity Trigger was the first one, I believe, right? Yeah. Yes. And then there was
and then after Chrono Phantasma?
No. Continuum Shift.
Continuum Shift. I always forget about Continuum Shift.
I have the collector's edition for that.
That's like a big box, right?
It is a big box. I got the Continuum Shift, and it was Continuum Shift 2. Like, seeing that evolve gave me immediate Blaze Blue vibes. And I don't think I've ever picked up an Arc System fighting game and had a bad time with it. Like, I enjoyed it. And
very least, ArcSys fighting games are fun. You can always go in there, and unless you pick a super duper like hard character that's just hard out the gate, you can do like some cool stuff. Not all the cool stuff, but you can do some of the cool stuff.
That was me when I played Hakumen. I did not like Hakumen.
Well, yeah, going in, that's one of those characters that you might not be able to do the cool stuff with immediately.
Not at all, man. but yeah, like it was just wonderful to see that like that same vibe. Like I said, like it was like watching just I felt like I grew with it, and my love for the series continued to grow. And you know, it just continues even to this day. Like, you know, when they announced Fighters and it was by Arc System, I was over the moon. I, full disclaimer, did not like the Budokai Tenkaichi series. I liked Budokai,
but I didn't like the Tenkai. See,
I did.
I have me and the Jamaican Shake. You know, we are brothers, and when we were kids, we had Dragon Ball Z, Budokai Tenkaichi 3 on the Wii. We never really played them outside of that version. Because I never liked them before that either. I just have a natural aversion to like arena type fighters like that. But that one was cool because you could do the hand motions with the Wiimote, and it was pretty accurate actually. You know, Special Beam Kane did the motion and Special Beam came out. Same with the Kamehameha. That shit was cool. Same with like the explosions, you know, you had to cross your arms and then pull them out and it would do the explosion instead of hitting the button. It was tight. It worked. It actually worked. But I feel you. I didn't like the Tenkaichi games either.
I felt like it just felt like I can agree with the arena fighter things. Arena fighters are very hit or miss for me. I'm not gonna lie. But I think that when they finally announced Fighters, I was just over the moon. I was excited. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this. This looks so cool. And even to this day, it's a game that I will always, like, if someone says, yo, man, we'll play Fighters, I will never say no. Like, oh, let's go. I don't care if I'm winning. I don't care if I'm losing. You could be handing my ass to me, or I could be handing ass out. Doesn't matter. I have such a fun time with it. It doesn't matter. Even like when you and me, we were playing not too long ago. We were just playing. It was the first time you and me picked the sticks up on it in like a long time.
Yeah, when we were hosting that tournament. Or hosting the tournaments, the multiple ones.
Yeah, like it just felt satisfying. It was just fun. It didn't matter if I was getting caught up or whatever like that. I was just having a great time. And that's the beauty of these Arc System games. You just have fun. And even watching like the visuals on it, like you said, like it's just aesthetically pleasing. The blasts, the explosion, the sparkles, the hits, the sounds, like Arc Systems knows how to get you in there, man. Especially the biggest thing is the music, bro. The music, they get you. It's so good.
And when it comes to ArcSys right now in this past generation, you know, your Street Fighter 5, your Tekken 7, your MK11 and X, even though I like X, and other games dropped, Samurai Showdown and stuff, things like that. Oh, I guess that's also no, that's SNK. With things like that and KOF 14, things like that, ArcSys is actually like a bright spot in all of that. The games that came out in the middle of that generation were really so solid, were so solidly made. Like you said, Fighters was premium. That was a premium game. That was like top 3 games at that like AAA level. It was so awesome. Like if I were to say, I couldn't say like this past generation was a bust for me because Fighters was just so good.
Like, dude, I think that, and I think that the beauty of it too is that, I mean, look at Fighters as it is now. Like, it's seamlessly basically done. Like, I don't really see them adding any new characters. I mean, it's possible that I could be wrong. They might surprise us and say instead of actually making like a Fighters 2, they're just going to continue to expand on the first one. I don't know. I mean, I can't even think about who they would be adding at this point, but, you know, let them do what they want. I mean, the world is their oyster at this point.
Yeah, this with the reception of Fighters. When I first saw Fighters, when I first saw that trailer for Fighters, I was excited. Maybe not as much as say you or as you or some of the other members of the chain, because I'm not like a Dragon Ball head, right? I'm not like crazy on Dragon Ball. I watched like all of Z, don't get me wrong. I watched all of Z just like everyone else did. But like then I was just like, okay, on to the next one. I didn't build any emotional attachment towards it. I like some of the villains, you know, I like Boo. I think Janemba's so cool. Cooler's one of my favorites.
Facts.
But when I first saw it, that was exciting. And then it was like I saw the 3v3 and it was like high flying and you can call an assist, which is absolutely perfect for Dragon Ball. That the high kinetic fighting style, like it couldn't be grounded. This is Dragon Ball we're talking about. Like there's no room for solid grounded footsies in Dragon Ball. It's gotta be degenerate, it's gotta be fast, it's gotta be all over the screen, big things happening all the time. So I'm with it. I have no problem objectively to that. I think that was perfect. They made the perfect call for that. But, however, me personally, I have always been so bad at games like that. The high flying ones, the multiple characters, the call and assists, the 8-way jumps and things like that. I'm so bad at all of them. So I was worried when I first saw it. I was like, damn, I'll play it, but I'm going to be bad at this for like my whole life.
And the lie detector determined that was a lie.
Don't come at my neck like that. That was just my initial thoughts. Because I've always been like, because it's similar to Marvel vs. Capcom like that. Like Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's very like Marvel-ish. With how bombastic it is. I'm not good at that. You know, there's too much going on, too much to juggle for me sometimes. How did you feel about that? Do you think that that method of gameplay worked for Dragon Ball, or do you think there was another way they could have done it?
I think they hit it on they hit the nail on the head perfectly. I mean, the air combos and just being able to juggle and just the way the characters play, like every character plays exactly how you think they would play. Frieza's the distance, keep away, character, and like when they finally do get in and get close up to you, it's very much like very sneaky sly style. Goku, your main hero, hard hitter, kind of well-rounded, very good for anybody that's just jumping into the game for the first time. Your Piccolo, very technical, very all around, Vegeta, hard striking, fast, hard hitting, like everybody just felt the way they needed to feel. And that's what I liked. Like, there was nothing that made me feel disappointed. Even the different variations of Gohan, like we had the teen Gohan, which was like the, I'm quick, I may not do as much damage, but I'm fast. I'm hard to get a hold of, and once I get in there, I'm gonna go in there. And then you got the older version, with like the more kind of like rounded about like style, very much Goku, but at the same time still his own unique set of moves. So I mean, everyone has a Kamehameha basically in this game. Everybody's got some type of a blast move, but like he didn't rely just on the Kamehameha. He used the Misenko as his main blast move instead. He had the teleporting dragon punches. As he continues to use his level ones to level himself up, he got faster, more hits and stuff. His like style changed. I loved it, man. Especially for me, I think that I mainly fell more in love with it with how much love I felt the character for adult Gohan got. Because let's be real here, if you're a Z fan and you are a Gohan fan, I am sorry. I am sorry on behalf of all the Gohan heads, because I am a huge Gohan head. I am so sorry.
Gohan fans are down bad.
But, side note, Dragon Ball Superhero Super Movie, whatever they call that fucking movie right now, we got some love in there for our boy, so hopefully that trend continues.
Let's hope so.
But yeah, dude, like, yeah, Fighters I felt like they did a fantastic job. I think they did everything they needed to do. They did the franchise well. They did the fans well. And I mean, even to this day, like we said, it's still a mainstay game in these tournaments. Like, I love this. You love to see it. You just do.
No, yeah, especially to have a game that's not Smash, right? That is based off of a direct license be so popular, not just on the merit of its IP, being Dragon Ball, but also just on the gameplay and the fact that it brought together so many different branches of the FGC. You had Street Fighter players joining it. You had Mortal Kombat players joining it. You had Guilty Gear players joining it. BlazBlue players joined it. There's some Tekken players that joined it. And Tekken players don't play any game but Tekken. And they were joining it.
Yeah.
So it must have, it tapped into something. I feel like everyone just wanted to play this amazing Dragon Ball game because they've always wanted a game like Dragon Ball Fighters. And I really feel like the bottom of my heart, I feel like ArcSys, with their track record and the way they make their games, was the sole company that could have pulled it off this way.
Nah, I heavily agree to that.
And I also kind of, I don't want to say attribute it solely, because I'm sure there were other factors. I feel like Dragon Ball FighterZ kind of blurred that line indefinitely between regular fighting games and quote-unquote anime fighters. Because they used to be separate, like BlazBlue and Guilty Gear and like Arcana Heart and all those other ones. They used to be in their own group called like the anime fighters, and then fighting games were just Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, things like that, Marvel's Capcom. And I feel like it's blurred. The line is too blurred now because I think Fighters has a big part. What do you think?
No, I could agree to that, man, heavily. I remember like obviously growing up and playing a lot of these games. The anime fighting games were definitely not something you saw very often in the mainstays of like anything. You didn't see them stocked very, very often. You didn't see them like sold in a lot of places. You had to go find them. It was literally a treasure hunt. The only ones that you typically saw maybe were basically kind of only the Dragon Ball games. You know, Budokai 1, Budokai 2, Budokai 3, then the Tenkaichi series and stuff like that. But like, very much like you said, like Arcana Hearts is something that I feel like a lot of people don't even know exists still. But if you have PlayStation Plus, it's not that PlayStation Plus, the PlayStation Plus, but the like their upgraded membership, it's on there to be able to stream it. You can play the first one and the third one. It's on there.
Heart? Arcana?
Yeah.
Is it Arcana or is it Arcana?
Arcana. It's I can't tell you how. I guess it's whatever. Tomato.
I suppose it doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's like when somebody talks about that Pokemon ArcSys or Arceus, I'm like, what is it? I don't know. I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care enough.
Frieza. You know, you pick your tea, but
all right. Nah, you know, it is not Freezer.
It actually.
Who's out there calling Frieza Freezer? I want to know.
I mean, you don't know that.
I want to know who's out there calling him Freezer.
It's the same people that call Naruto Naruto.
No, not Naruto, not Naruto.
I'm not. That's such a pet peeve of mine. I can't lie to you. I'm like, where's the D in his name? Spell his name. And they're like, Naruto. Where is the D? Where do you pronounce the D in this thing?
Now, I want to talk about Blaze Blue for a little bit.
Let's do that. I am excited now.
Blaze Blue, I remember my first, I don't want to call it an introduction, because I didn't pursue it. But I remember one time I walked into GameStop, I couldn't even tell you what I was buying. But homie behind the counter, he was adamant. He was gung-ho about this. He wanted me so badly to try out this new fighting game called Blaze Blue. It was like just about to drop, and he wanted me to play. I must have been buying a fighting game at the time for him to be so pushy about it, because he was kind of pushy. He wrote it down for me, put down the release date and everything for me to buy this game. I didn't say, hey, I'm looking for Blaze Blue. He just said, oh, you like fighting games? Here, you gotta try this Blaze Blue game out, dog. And you wanna know what I did?
You tried it out?
I slept on it. Nope. I ignored it.
What?
I ignored the fuck out of it. I didn't even give it any attention for years. I wrote off Blaze Blue.
Not Blaze Blue, no.
Yeah. So, it's interesting now seeing what ArcSys is doing now. It's almost for people like me, where they're bringing rollback to these old games like Blaze Blue, for people like me who might have heard about it and blew it off because we didn't know what it was, or we don't care about anime fighters. We only like playing Street Fighter and Tekken and Mortal Kombat, and that's as far as we went, you know, small minds. Mm-hmm. But now, you know, we're all older. At least I'm older. You were on the boat from the jump. And Blaze Blue is like super interesting to me now. I played Central Fiction. I played it a lot online when the rollback was added, and I played with y'all. Actually, I don't think I've ever played with you though, Lobo.
I think I'm the only one that has never played a match of Blaze Blue with you.
That's insane. You'd probably beat me up though. I am not good at Blaze Blue, and I am not being humble. I swear to God, I am bad at this game.
I gotta pick the sticks up and practice a little bit. I mean, but
where I'm getting at is now with so much hindsight, right? With so much hindsight with Blaze Blue and seeing how far it's come from where it is now, how would you describe Blaze Blue's growth in comparison to Guilty Gear's growth?
All I'm saying is Arc Systems needs to stop teasing me and just give me a goddamn game.
A new one?
Give me a new Blaze Blue game. I know that. I know the cross tag thing was just a test.
No, that's just
okay.
Not real. That's not real.
Just listen. Y'all failed. That was a bad test. Give me another test. Give me a.
That's what tests are for.
Give me a report of one of the. I don't care. I want one. Nah. On the whole other actual like serious talk about it.
Right.
I think that with the succession of seeing the Guilty Gear kind of rose back up, and it's not to say that I don't think it ever really fell off. I felt like a lot of people that were in the fighting game scenes still, like, they knew of Guilty Gear. You know what I mean? Like, they still play, like, there's a couple people that know, like, oh man, I used to play Guilty Gear all the time and stuff. And the fact that it disappeared for a while, I feel like Blaze Blue was like a good way to kind of reintroduce people to that game. But like but allowing them to have a whole new IP, you know what I mean? Like, give them a new franchise to start. See if the interest of that style is still there, because Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue have very similar styles, and I think that that's what helped it. Like you said, I was on the boat from Blaze Blue from the jump, man. I was the captain up there. I was the Captain Jack Sparrow of that one. Y'all had a job, Dirt. Y'all had a job, Dirt. I've got a job, Guilty Gear. I got a job, Blaze Blue. But fact is, like, I remember I was hanging out with my buddy Boog, and we were sitting in his basement, and we were watching like YouTube videos or something about like just like different combos and stuff. And we saw the trailer for Blaze Blue, and I was immediately hooked. Like, I can't lie to you. And it wasn't just the fact that it was like a very anime-esque style fighting game. I looked at it and I was like, this gives me Guilty Gear vibes. I need to play this game. I went out, I pre-ordered it. I got the special edition with the little soundtrack, everything with it. I took that thing home, popped it into my PS3, and just immediately felt, it just felt very Guilty Gear vibes. The music, the combo system, the characters. You can't tell me you can't look at Iron Tiger and you can't see Potemkin. Like, you can't tell me that.
Of course.
Like,
I think he has Potemkin colors too in some of his ultimates, right?
Yeah, and also you got like Lychee was, I would say, was the closest thing to like what was her name? May, the girl with the anchor, right?
Yeah, that's May.
Yeah, very, very May, just more grown. And then you got Faust and Aquaman, who was he was basically Aquaman. Very, very goofy and kind of all over the place with it, a lot of his moves and stuff. Like, it just felt so, like,
Are you thinking of Arakune,
the blob monster?
The blob, yeah.
Yeah, freaking no mask looking dude, or no face. Like, very, very nostalgic vibes. I loved it. And I think that with not this Guilty Gear that came out, but the previous one that came out, the third, right? That was the title. Or am I wrong?
Xrd, yeah. Oh wait, Guilty Gear.
Guilty Gear.
Yeah, Xrd. That's the one before Strive.
Yeah, and then it, like, seeing
before Strive.
Yeah, like seeing the like resurgence of that like community of like gamers that still had the interest, and then seeing the new gamers coming in. You know, like, it was a very much like, oh wow, this is still great. I mean, I think everything they need is there. I mean, what I really want is a Guilty Gear X Blaze Blue game.
That seemed to be the next logical choice, right?
Like, I just feel like you have to. Come on, give me Soul Bad Guy versus Ragnar the Blood Edge.
Everyone wants to see that.
Give me Kai Kisuke versus Jin. Give me Potemkin versus Tager. Like, I want to see this stuff happen, bro.
And that does seem like the next logical step when it comes to crossovers. Like, whatever cross tag battle is, like, that's whatever. That's whatever. That's, as the Jamaican Shea calls it, that's Mugen, but
yeah, that's literally basically what it is.
But then Guilty Gear X Blaze Blue would be so cool, and it would match so well. The aesthetics are all there, and same company, you know, no licensing. They could bring in whoever they want. Yeah, like, literally, they could fill that roster with whoever they wanted.
You got all the characters. You got so many unique styles. I don't know if they had anybody that was like a puppeteer, like I don't know if you remember Carl from Blaze Blue.
Carl Clover.
Yeah, like, I feel like I don't know if there was really anybody that was like kind of like that in Guilty Gear.
I guess Zato was kind of like that.
I guess
Zato and Eddie.
Maybe.
Kinda, like, not one for one, but
because you could still control Carl and then have the the puppet attack for you still. So you could set up some stuff where he would go in on you, and then she'd just come up and wallop you, and then you still be able to go in. So I don't know, maybe I guess that's gonna be like the closest thing, but like I just feel like they have everything they need. If anything, I think the next step would be maybe releasing a new BlazBlue title, and then from there, once they see that the the love is there for it, they could go into a cross type game. You know, I don't see why not.
Now let me ask you this: you have this desire for a crossover with Guilty Gear for BlazBlue.
Yep.
Would you want the next BlazBlue to then be in like the same animation style as Guilty Gear Strive or even Xrd? You know, like 3D made to look 2D, or would you prefer BlazBlue to stick with their sprites, updated sprites instead of 3D?
The fan in me would want to stay where it was before. The veteran gamer in me is going to tell me they're going to update it. And you know what? I wouldn't hate it. I don't think it would look bad. I mean, it's very much, I guess, like going to be what they're kind of going to go toward. So, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would love the sprite system to stay. I always felt like with the sprites there was less like room for like weird, like nonsensical hits, if that makes sense, like weird hitboxes. You know, at least like it makes more sense. But when you have like a lot of these like 3D model sprites, obviously there's a lot more animations involved, there's a lot more movements involved. So, you know, you could have like that one sweet spot of like a character maybe even like breathing weirdly, and it could have like a impact on where their hitbox is. So, I don't know. I think that I would prefer the sprite system, but if they do switch it over, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it either. I mean, Strive looks phenomenal, so...
It does. Strive does look freaking fantastic. Okay, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that it would be cool. I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of characters that probably benefit from that, like, look and style for a lot of their supers. I mean, like, freaking, like, obviously Ragna would be one. Bang Shishigami is another one. Like, can you imagine, like, Bang Shishigami's, like, ninjutsu-like stuff, like, flying all over the place? Oh, God, him and Chip versus each other would be cool, too.
That would be such a high-octane battle. Would you even be able to keep up with them on the screen? Listen,
all I'm saying is, once you hear the Bang Shishigami theme song, you know it's a rap for Chip. I'm sorry, Chip. But when you hear that bang, 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 like, that's it. It's over.
It's all over.
Throw in the towel. You're done.
I'm sorry, Chip. You don't have the help to tank this.
You don't. Not at all. But, yeah, like, I could just see, like, what was his name? It's gonna kill me right now. I know I think you played the character. I think you like him. BlazBlue. Hazuma, there it is. You know exactly who I was.
Hazuma's the man. I love Hazuma.
Can you imagine his supers in that full 3D, 2D style of like animations from Guilty Gear? That would look crazy.
My God, yes. Just the style in general, I think, would be very, very. What's the word I'm looking for? Complementary to the flashness that BlazBlue has. Because I feel like BlazBlue has a little bit more flash than Guilty Gear does, just overall. Just in my opinion, a lot more particles, a lot more people doing wild screen filling things.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
So I feel like having that like 3D, big 3D style, those super cool graphics that like Strive has, I think would really benefit it. My only concern would be if they like simplified it, because I feel like BlazBlue's a really, really hard game. Like, I know Guilty Gear is hard, but I feel like BlazBlue's a little bit harder than Guilty Gear is, just as a whole.
I feel like that was the beauty that I loved about it, though, was the fact is, like, the initial, like, startup was very basic, and you're, like, I hate saying basic this way, though, but, like, it was very much, like, you could get into it. Like, my buddy, Tato, who also played fighting games a lot when we growing up, but he wasn't like as into like the competitive scene. Like he saw like BlazBlue at my house and he was like, "Oh, I want to play this," picked up the game with me, and he started playing as Hakumen, and it was just like it to him was just fun. That's just all it was. It was just fun, and I think that's where the beauty of the Arc System games come in. He was a newcomer to this series, fresh out the gate, no idea what this character did, and he still enjoyed himself. And then as he did his super moves and his power-ups, like he was like, oh my god, this is so cool. Then when Continuum Shift came out, they kind of made it a little more complex. You know, you had more juggles. Like Ragna was basically an air juggling character, you know. And he just saw that evolution each time. Yeah, Continuum Shift 2, Chronoplasm, you know, like everything. And I think that the coolest thing for me was when you finally got to do the introduction to the astral finishes.
Those are cool.
Those are just so satisfying to watch.
And the cool thing about astral finishes is how like rewarding it is because of how hard, because they're like win more, right? Like you already got to be winning to hit the astral, and they're just like so disrespectful in a way. It's like the most flashy type of teabag is the astral heat.
So I know that you had to be like a lot more ahead in the winning streak area. I think that you had to be like 2 up to actually qualify for an astral, and I think they changed that in the later games. But I very much remember in the original games you had to be very high up in your wins against whoever you were fighting, and then you also had to have a lot more health than them.
Yeah, I think you said like 30% or something for it to work. At least nowadays.
Yeah, it was very much like you had to put in the work. And watching the sprites, like Ragna's obviously was the one where he unleashed the blaze blue power within him, and his blood edge sword turned into a scythe. So you got to actually see why they called him Ragna, the blood edge, you know, the Reaper. It was crazy. My favorite one to this day is Tager's, where he takes you and freaking rockets you into the atmosphere and then just slams you into the ground and literally creates a crater with your corpse. I was like, that was unnecessary, but God, it was cool.
God, awful cool. That's what I'm talking about. But my only issue with some of the astrals is that like you could some characters could combo into their astrals. And yeah, I'm never a big fan of being able to combo into insta kills like that, but I figure if you earned it, you earned it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the later games, it kind of became like a regular, like, oh yeah, it's no different than basically like a fatality. Like once your health was at like a certain point and they knew that you could just finish it, they was just like, yeah, at that point, just finish it.
Yeah, at that point. And I was kind of hoping when rollback was brought into Blaze Blue Central Fiction that it would explode the scene back on, and you know we'd see the tournaments again, and we'd start hearing talks about future plans and whatnot. But unfortunately, I feel like it kind of like died off again. Like it was fun, and then people just went back to play like probably Guilty Gear games again and stuff like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I felt like at that time, because it was a weird time, obviously, and I think that was also around that was close around the time that Fighters was coming out, wasn't it? So
it was when they added rollback to Blaze Blue.
Yeah.
No, that was just recently. That was February, maybe March.
Oh, I might be thinking of
this
something
year.
Else. Then
you might be on Fighters. What's going on with Fighters? I feel like there's nothing really going on around Fighters. I think Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was like new when Fighters came out.
Yeah. Infinite was around then, and Infinite was just ugh.
Yeah, Infinite was Infinite. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, another
day. But for now,
let's do that. Let's not do that.
Hopping back to Guilty Gear. I got into Guilty Gear. I don't officially, but still kind of unofficially because I still didn't put so much time into it. But I bought the game. Like my first Guilty Gear I bought, probably for like a lot of other people, was Guilty Gear Xrd. I bought Guilty Gear Xrd. I knew about as close to nothing about the game as a veteran fighting game player could be. Like, you knew some things. You've seen some of the characters around. You've seen Soul. You've seen Potemkin around. You know Faust. Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I bought it, I was like, okay, so here we go. First foray into Guilty Gear world. What's got in store for me? And boy, I was not ready. I was getting beat up so hard. I did not understand the flow of the game. I didn't have the smell of the game yet. I didn't know how combos work. These things weren't linking how I was expecting them to be. Because I played Blaze Blue before I played Xrd. And with Blaze Blue, you can just go ABCD, right? You can get square, triangle, circle, X, and you have the most basic combo in the whole world. But it's still linked. And I felt like Guilty Gear wasn't like that at first. It is. You can go square, triangle, X, and circle. But I didn't know that. I was really struggling with Guilty Gear at first. And I didn't know anything about the characters. I didn't know who was top tier. I didn't know who was bottom tier. I didn't understand like the way they did their moves with the half circle back forward motion with all their special moves and things like that. But at the time when Xrd dropped, and this is why I bought it, it was the best looking fighting game on the market at the time. It looked gorgeous. Did you get into Xrd heavy when it came out like you were in the older games?
So around that time, I think when it came out, I was actually in school. I was in college, so I don't think I was able to enjoy it as much. I still I very much played the game, and I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere in my catalog over here. Like, I'm pretty sure it's I'm actually looking at my from my desk, looking at my shelf, and I'm pretty sure it's in there somewhere. And I will say, from what I played, like you said, it was aesthetically very pleasing. It was very, very nice to look at. The other issue I had is, around that time, I didn't have really anybody to play with. So it was more like me just playing on the system with just the computer. So I didn't really have the competition. When I had Guilty Gear, I had a couple of friends that played it. Then I had Guilty Gear X. I had people that play that as well. So I up until I think that one was the only one I didn't really get to have the crazy oh man, I can't wait to get so much better at this game, because I really didn't have a reason to get better, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that having competition is the single most important thing for getting better at a fighting game.
Yeah, and I think that was my biggest issue. I didn't have it, and it kind of put me in that place of I didn't play it as much. I had that weird period where I just stopped playing a lot of my games.
I think we all hit that at some point. Like you said, you were in college, right? I'm sure that was a handful by itself.
Yeah, art school.
Art school, even worse. You're working your brain super hard too. All the fun parts of your brain were being overdriven.
Yeah, and I think that the other issue was that a lot of the people that I had playing games with, I mean, I felt like that was more the rise around people more wanting to play shooters and stuff.
Oh yeah,
so
I guess that was a period there.
Yeah, so I didn't really get to enjoy it as well as I wanted. Don't get me wrong, I still love the game. Actually, find it. Yeah, I see it right there. Yep, I have it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it right there. I'm watching my cat wag his tail around the PlayStation games. And I'm pretty sure he's doing it. But yeah, I still enjoyed it, and it's just one of those things. Like I said, I just watching how far it came. I may have not have been super into the series like I was back then, but I still loved it enough to have to go, I gotta get this game.
That's good, because it shows the reputation of Guilty Gear. Which, even if people who haven't even thought about Guilty Gear for a while, or don't even really have the time to sit down and enjoy it to its full potential, they still want to go out and support it and buy it and show their love for it. Especially when they put in so much effort into these games. This was not a rehash. This was not a reboot. This shit was made with boundless love, and it showed in the gameplay and the aesthetics and the atmosphere.
You know how much I love Guilty Gear? I bought the PSP game just to play the side-scrolling part.
Hey yo.
Do you remember that, the Guilty
That's-
Gear? It was like a Streets of Rage style game.
I've never played it. No.
What? Yeah, it was
No,
on
I never
PSP.
played it.
So it was one of the it was one of the ports of one of the PS2 games, and as a side bonus in the game, they had this extra mode, where you basically fought you played a sole bad guy, Kai Kisuke, and I think that was honestly it. I think it was only those two characters, but there was like this really cool like Streets of Rage style beat 'em up, where you fought like the monsters they were known as gears, like the actual. It's funny because everyone's like, geez, like Guilty Gear, that sounds like a cool name. But they didn't realize that there were actually monsters in the game called gears that were the whole thing that started the problems in the game. Like, if you look into the lore, that's where the name comes from.
Yeah, I had to catch up on the lore for Strive because I was planning on taking Strive seriously. So I caught up on all of that stuff, and it is pretty confusing, to be honest.
I mean, that's like any fighting game. I don't feel
That's
like
true.
I feel like there's no. If you want to make a good fighting game, have a story that's absolutely like on some Kingdom Hearts level nonsense. Like, you don't know
Kingdom
what's
Hearts
going
level,
on.
he said.
I admit, listen, none of us know what's going on in that game. Let me put it to you this way: what the hell is going on in Street Fighter? Like, it's supposed to be a tournament-based like fighting game of warriors from all over the world. What is this secret like not alliance, the secret organization that's trying to take over the world? And why is the government involved? And why is Chun-Li a member of Interpol? Like, what is this? Who is actually the main bad guy? Because we all thought Bison was a problem. Then we got Akuma that just shows up as like, I'm actually the villain. And it's like, are you? Nah, I just want to beat this kid's ass. He just wants to beat Ryu's up until he turns evil.
I'll beat the good out of you, boy.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, or freaking, like, don't even get me started on Tekken, man. The freaking lore on that game is just everywhere. All you know is that, how do you know your daddy doesn't love you? He throws you off a mountain.
And then you throw him off a mountain, and then he throws you off a mountain again, and then you just
and
keep
throw your
throwing
grandpa. You throw your
get thrown
grandpa in
into
a
a
volcano.
Just be throwing shit. If y'all don't just shoot each other and just make sure, y'all just keep throwing each other off. I feel like they to fight each other.
Don't forget, Heihachi did throw Jin out of a helicopter.
Oh shit, he did shoot. He did have Jin shot up, and he turned to double Jin. Damn, they did everything. It just didn't work.
God. So, yep, how do you make a good fighting game? Just make sure the lore is so all over the place, no one cares.
Okay, so I don't want to skip all the way to Strive because there is one game in between, like, Fighters and Strive that we have to touch on briefly. It's like a bridge between them as far as the way they did their graphics and a lot of their presentation, and that is the Grand Blue series. Now, I don't know if you got into the Grand Blue series at all. Are you aware of its presence? Oh, you own it? Okay. Have you played it?
I did. I like it.
You like it?
I need to play more of it. I gotta be honest with you. I felt like I got it, and I did enjoy it. Like, oh my god, I think the visuals are what immediately sold me. So my buddy Kaiju Carl was the one that actually got me to get it. He was like heavy into it. He showed me all the videos while we were at work. He wouldn't stop talking about it, and I ended up getting it, and I ended up playing a couple matches with him online. I did love it, and I feel like an ass because I completely dropped it, and I was like, wow, this game was good. Why did I stop playing it? And I honestly don't have an answer.
Just got bored, didn't like the aesthetic, didn't like any characters.
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I just turned around and yep, here it is. I have it in my hands right here.
he went and grabbed it.
Yeah, it's sitting right here because I remember how pretty the box was. I got the special edition. And like, don't get me wrong, like even looking at the box right now, I'm just like, man, this game was so cool. I think that what drew me more to it was the characters were very Soul Calibur looking.
Very high fantasy.
Yeah, like very like D&D esque. Like I love it. Like I'm opening the box right now. Look at me. I wish you could see me right now. I look like a total dork. And I'm like, wow, look how cool this looks. This special art book and everything. Like everything about this game. Like I feel like the main issue was I don't think this game got promoted enough, and I think
Not
that's
really.
probably why. Oh, look, I still have the little treasure card that came in there with the little weird cat goblin.
And I think you're spot on with that because most people, I'm sure, weren't really aware what the Grand Blue series was. I know I wasn't, and my biggest issue was always not only did I not know what the Grand Blue series was, I also hate high fantasy. So I wasn't into it to begin with. I didn't even give it a fair shot, if I'm being honest. I just did not like the aesthetics. That's not fair. Hold on. Let me roll that back. I love the presentation. I love the way it looks. I love the way it moves. But I don't like the high fantasy environment. I don't like none of the characters stuck with me. I don't really find the world interesting. That's just all me. It's not ArcSys' fault. It's not Grand Blue's fault. It's just a matter of personal preference. That's why I slept on it. It wasn't because I thought the gameplay was bad, even though it had like the simple inputs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my issue with it.
You're gonna make me go. We're gonna play this right after we're done talking to.
Grand Blue. Me and Jamaican Jake, we played it a little bit recently, maybe last year. We played it, and it is fun. Do not get me wrong. When I talk bad about Grand Blue, it has nothing to do with anything objective. The game looks great. It plays great. The music is fantastic, like legitimately. I love Grand Blue's music. And the presentation, their story mode is amazing. You played the Grand Blue story mode?
Yeah, it was RPG style.
Yeah, and it was amazing. It was so cool. But it's just not my style, personally.
I could see that.
I
think
that
like you. No, it's okay. I was just saying, like touching back on what you were saying. I think that the issue was there was, like you said, there was no promotion for the game. Like there wasn't enough hype or like really anything that like really stood out. Like I said, I had no idea about this game until Carl came up and showed me videos of it. And he just kind of like scours YouTube for like videos of like certain things, and he kind of came across and was like, "Oh man, check out this game! It looks really awesome." And then I know that he really, really loves the game. Like I think he probably still plays it to this day. But for me, like I played it, I liked it, and I had no problem with it. I think all the characters are cool. I played the I think his name is Valsarga or something like that. Like he was this big, like knight-looking dude.
I think it's like Vasaraga or something.
Something like that, yeah. And he had like a big old like scythe-looking like sword, and I think it looked cool. I like the one character that had like he had like his like rat brothers, or so he was like a rat guy, and he has like brothers or something like that could like jump in.
Oh yeah, Lowain, I think is his name.
Don't I don't know the names. I feel again. I'm showing my ignorance here. Like I have the game, and I really do think that the issue was it was coming. Excuse me, I hiccuped. It was coming out, especially around a time that, it was like a weird like space between like a lot of the fighting games, and I think that if it had the proper promotion, I think that it could have been a good like in between for a lot of games, or it could have even been like a very big mainstay for a while. But I think because it lacked all that, especially when Guilty Gear came out and had all its updates and everything like that, I felt like it just basically everyone was just like, oh, just don't play Guilty Gear.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It really didn't. It really didn't get a fair shake from just the community as a whole. I think it was like the game that everyone forgot.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because it brought some really nice things to the table. Like the ultras, like their supers, are animated so beautifully. Their intros and outros are so cool. Things like that. Things that are brought over from now the other games are kind of like taking notice of the way that Granblue did their cinematic things. Like Guilty Gear Strive, like the new hotness right now is definitely took some pointers from Granblue, and I think it needs its credit for that. You know what I mean?
I could see that. Now, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think that their newest IP that they're coming out with this week definitely kind of took a lot of that and could be like a replacement for what could have been Granblue?
That's a really good question. DNF Duel is kind of like adjacent to Granblue, like in my opinion. I don't want to call it the same game because it's definitely not that, but it's the same like idea. Here's this pretty, I don't call it obscure, but pretty isolated IP for the most part. Or I guess you played the Dungeon Fighter series, so I guess not as isolated as I thought. I'm just uncultured. But this game that people never really thought about putting in as a fighting game, like they turned it into a fighting game, and it's got amazing aesthetics reminiscent of Granblue, without being high fantasy. It's not even really low fantasy. It's just this weird, in a good way, this strange, I guess is a better word, this strange hybrid of modern times and high fantasy and low fantasy and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got easy inputs too, but you can also do motion inputs just like Granblue. It's got an in-depth story mode that you can probably play, as opposed to Guilty Gears as opposed to Guilty Gears where you would just watch it. So it's almost kind of like a replacement for Granblue. I don't want to come out and say that it will replace Granblue, like the next big tournament instead of Granblue, it'll be DNF Duel, because people might not take the DNF Duel like they took the Granblue.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the more, I guess, casual players, the more like busy players, the ones who aren't competitive, who play these things for like they are like semi-competitive at home. They're like home competitive. They want to do really well online, and that's really as high as the prospects go with fighting games. They might look at DNF and be like, okay, I didn't give Granblue a shot. I will rectify that with DNF Duel. It's more in my face in a good way, you know. They're actually showing it off. The characters are cool. It's got its own style, its own look, and it's, you know, it seems relatively easy to play, but it still kind of has its own identity.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, I don't personally think DNF Duel will replace Granblue, but I do think it will overshadow it.
I could agree with that. I could definitely agree with that. I think that DNF Duel probably has a better shot than Granblue did in a sense, because, I mean, I'll say that I've seen a lot more promotion just from like for example, like I walk in a GameStop and they actually have DNF Duel being advertised on their TVs, which is something I didn't see at all for Granblue at all. So to me, that kind of like gives me like that, they're actually trying to take this seriously. And as you mentioned earlier, I'm a fan of the Dungeon Fighter series. I played a lot of it back in the day, and even to this day, I still play it. I was playing on this really crappy HP laptop that I had from back in the day with like it was a freaking giga RAM and a dual core processor. Like back in the day, kids, those were the laptops we dealt with. Those were powerful. Those are $1,000 machines, and just being able to try to run it off that was astronomically annoying. I had to like convert like everything, all the power of all my processing had to go to that game. And it wasn't like it was like a very like high demanding game either. Like Like I run it on my PC now. Like it runs like not even a quarter of my power. So it's like crazy to think about back then how hard it was, and now it's super easy. But like I had fun with it. It was very much like that. It was a dungeon crawler mixed with like a Streets of Rage style fighting, because you obviously are to beat them up, and it was so fun being able to evolve and customize your characters. You had the characters that had the different classes and then the subclasses, and seeing that DNF Duel basically took those subclasses and actually made them into actual characters. Like the main girl fighter was the base class, and then the male fighter that you see is the one that looks like they're showing is a dojo master, which is a subclass. Which I was like, oh, that's
the grappler. Like he's got like the
yeah
gi on.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. I like that. Like still the same same base class, but like they were like, instead of just going, okay, cool, we're just gonna make like a copy of each one, they very much took like those characters and split them up. The Slayer class, the Cursed Swordsman guy with the demon arm and everything and the big sword, I saw that they have like the Ashura class, which is was one of my favorites, and then there's the Grand's Weapon Master, and then there's the actual like Berserker class, which I thought was cool. So I'm excited to actually see what DNF Duel is really going to go through. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was not too thrilled about the beta from what I saw. I know a lot of people have problems with it. A lot of people have problems with they wanted to play certain other characters, but you couldn't because it was like they didn't even get a chance to pick the characters. The game picked for you. But I do see there's definitely more promotion. There's definitely a lot more like love for it. This is really cool for those players that are like, hey, I used to play Dungeon Fighter like back in the day. Let's see what DNF Duel gives me. So I don't want to say I have high hopes for it, but I kind of want to have high hopes that it's going to be good. I mean, I have it pre-ordered, paid off. I'm hoping that I'll be playing it this weekend when it comes out.
I hope it turns out well for everyone's sake. I was watching a player named Sonic Soul. I was on his Twitch stream, and he was playing DNF. He got it early. He got it early. A lot of people are playing it now. A lot of people got it early. And he was doing some combo trials with Swiftmaster. Like he's like the air guy. He controls the air, makes tornadoes and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I was watching. He was doing like his hardest trial, and watching him do this hard trial, I was like, a lot of my fears. I don't want to say were completely quelled. I won't know that until I can play it myself. But the flashiness of this combo and the relative difficulty of it compared to what people figured you might be able to do was actually it was relieving to see, because it was a cool combo, and it might just be Swiftmaster being swaggy as hell. But this combo was cool, and so I like that you could do cool combos in this game despite it being simple inputs and things like that. Knowing when to do a simple input, when to do the motion input to conserve meter. I think that in itself is a cool little meta game that's like built right into the game like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives me high hopes for the game. So you said pretty much the same thing I said about the beta. It did not give me hope. It was like anti-hope. I was like, oh, this game's gonna flop. This is not good. But it's I am crossing my fingers for this game right now, because I want it to do well. I really do, because the convention that me and the Jamaican Shake saw premiered at was our first convention. So I want it to be good, just for nostalgia's sake.
I hope it does turn out well. I mean, I think that right now we're in like a weird place with a lot of the fighting game scene, where I think that we need more new like games, if that makes sense. Like more new titled games to want to play.
I've been
Because
saying that for a
obviously
long time.
obviously like we don't have a lot, because everything right now is obviously relying back. I mean, like obviously like with like the flop of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, I mean, I see more people trying to bring back tournaments for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate, or just straight up just Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I think that it would be nice to see like a new emergence of a new like IP to kind of come in and go, hey, we're here for this new one, and kind of see it kind of rise up. I'm not saying that it's going to be like the Guilty Gear, the Tekken level and stuff like that, but it would be nice to see like it like make its way up there. And I mean, it would also be great for ArcSys, because that would be like a fourth title out there in the mainstay of series, you know, of these tournaments. You know, like they would basically be it's weird to say it this way, but they'd be kind of running the tournament scene.
They kind of would, yeah, no doubt. I echo your sentiments as well. Just new IPs, I feel like, would breathe a lot of new life into the scene right now. Because even though there's sequels in the works that seem to look really cool, like Street Fighter 6, you know, they just showed all that stuff off, and that looks really cool. But yeah, I kind of feel like that we are in a weird spot as far as the FGC goes, because we are kind of just like coasting on sequel after sequel, when a new Kill on the Block could shake things up pretty good.
I think that would be awesome. Like just something to see that. I mean, what I would love to see Arc System take a lot of these games that are also like this is kind of like a quick final thought on this one, but like a lot of the arena fighters that we talked about earlier that were kind of like bluff, like I would love to see like them give a lot of those other anime games the fighters treatment. And I feel like see some new stuff come out, like maybe like take Naruto, take Demon Slayer, or hell, one of the new animes on the block right now, Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, you know, say a lot of these anime games, because obviously anime itself is obviously like a very like mainstream piece of entertainment now, and it would be great to see a company just go, hey man, we saw what we did with fighters, let's see what else we could do with a lot of these other ones. You know what I mean? But just that was just a side note I wanted to throw in there. But definitely, I really hope DNF Duel does well. I hope DNF Duel gets the love, the fan base on there. I hope ArcSys keeps up with it. Listen to the fans when there are problems, bugs, and stuff like that. Just listen to everybody, but also listen to people that are not just complaining because they're like, this character just seems cheap, but they're not really learning the system. Learn the system before you complain.
Yeah, I feel like companies are, this day and age, pretty good at weeding out the complainers from the actual criticisms.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to see it fail just because they're trying too hard to please people and they want the IP to succeed so badly. You know what I mean? That's more my concern.
No, for sure, because that's just the fear of a new IP, right? Like, you don't have any established fan base, you have to build it from the ground up. So you just want to please them all.
So we'll see, man.
I think DNF will be pretty tight. At the very least, I think it'll be a pretty tight game. Maybe not groundbreaking, but pretty tight.
So right before, I guess, because I know we're probably going to be wrapping this up soon, I got a question for you on DNF Duel.
Yeah, go for it.
Who do you want to main?
Who do I want to main? I plan on maining the Enchantress.
Okay.
The girl with the teddy bear monster for a summon.
I can see it.
I'm very excited to try her out. Because it's like my style. And I was worried when I first saw her before the trailer, when she was just leaked that she was in it, and I saw her little teddy bear. I was like, oh my god, that's cool. She's got like an evil teddy bear as like a summon. That's so cool.
Nice.
Because I like stuff like that, but most of the time characters that have an interesting play style that I like don't have a cool enough aesthetic that I like. Like, I like that kind of aesthetic, but I don't like the characters they put it on, like Zato. Zato's, like, Eddie is so cool, and the way he uses Eddie is so cool. It's so cool to me. But I don't like the way Zato looks. Same thing with Carl. I like the fact that he uses the puppet and can use the puppet to trick people up. I think that's cool. But I think Carl as the character is whack. I think he's so whack. But I like the Entrench. I think she looks pretty cool. But her having like a teddy bear monster and not like a shadow or like a puppet is really cool. It's just like a teddy bear monster. And besides, I play like Fluffles in Yu-Gi-Oh! And one of the cards is the Frightful Bear, and it's like the same thing. But yeah, Enchantress, because she looks like she'll be tricky in the kind of ways that I like to be. You know, she'll be doing stuff, and then you can have your bear doing stuff while you're doing stuff and tricking them up, and they got to try to figure out how to block both you guys at the same time, and the mix-ups will be real. It's not just like high-low mix-up with like fast plus frame attacks and stuff like maybe like Striker does, or like Berserker or someone would do. It's just my style of character. And of course, you know, there's the Grappler and Crusader. I'm interested in those two. Those are the first two I played in the betas. And I'm very interested in them too. But Enchantress has my heart right now. How about yourself?
I want Ghostblade.
Ghostblade? Hell yeah.
It's got a special place in my heart because back when I played the Dungeon Fighter, I picked the Ashura path for my Slayer. And that was my first subclass that I fully maxed out. So, maxed out at the time because the game continued to update, so I didn't really play too often after that. But when I first played through and I maxed them out, so it's a guilty nostalgia factor. I kind of want to just go through it, just be like, oh man, gotta continue that tradition. I'm also interested in the Kenochi. I'm interested in her. She seemed really cool. I mean, Ninja Girls. Who doesn't like Ninja Girls? After that, honestly, I would say that the only other one that I feel like I would be interested in is the Striker, which is weird for me because I don't usually play a lot of those in-your-face type hitting characters. Like, I usually have characters that have some type of safety away from being able to be for example, I it's why you said that you want to play Grappler, because I mean, as much as you know and everyone else knows me, I hate grappling characters. I do. I hate them so much. God, I just feel like it's such a kick in the face when I watch my guy get yoked up. So. And obviously, playing a character like Striker is going to be very much I'm leaving myself very vulnerable to that whole situation. But just kind of want to see how she is. I mean, I like the way she looks. I like the way the character hits, and the combos look very, very fun. So I'm kind of you know what? I think I can get over my fear of being run up and done up by a grappler with her. Right. And worst comes to worst, I'm gonna grab my Ghostblade and be like, we're gonna play some distance here. Let's
a little keep away.
Let's get a little keep away going here. But
did you get the chance to play Ghostblade in the second beta when he was available?
I did not.
Oh, I'm so sorry, bro.
So everything I've seen is all with videos online. But I think that the benefit of this all is that since I didn't get to play the beta, which I know you from what you said and what I've seen, and I played I think I played a little bit of the first time when it launched, and I didn't get anybody that I wanted to play.
Damn, bro.
I literally played, I think I was out of 10 matches, I got nobody I wanted. I played the Ranger more than anybody else, and I was like, bro, I don't want to play Ranger. If I want to play pseudo Dante from Devil May Cry, I'll play Devil May Cry 5.
Word.
But it's cool though. I think that's gonna give me the excitement of going in and trying this character fresh out the gate, And I think I'm gonna enjoy it.
Now, as someone who has extensive gameplay knowledge of dungeon fighters, how would you rate the adaptation of DNF Duel from the original source material?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I want to say that it's very true so far for like the character fighting styles and uniqueness. Like that's I like the biggest thing I liked is the fact is that they took a bunch of the subclasses and made sure they turned them into unique characters. And I'm talking like not just for the fact that they have moves, but like giving them like an actual look. It's not like with the Slayer class all look exactly the same except for like small changes in the detail. But I think that like I mean unfortunately like the Ghost Blade is very much like what the Ashura class is, and the Slayer class like they kind of all look the same unfortunately. Like blondish, like faded white hair, demon arm and stuff like that. Obviously the Berserker's like 100% what the Berserker does look like. You know, blood red eyes, kind of very feral, which you know that's his fighting style. So I will say that they very much like are treating like the character as it should be treated, which is good. I want to say that they're doing a good job, but I really can't give a full assessment to that until I get the game in my hands.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
I think that we could circle back when DNF Duel comes out, and
We'll have a deep dive conversation about it.
I'm all about it.
Because
All
I'll be
about
playing. I'll be playing the crap out of it too once it comes out. I think this Tuesday for everybody, if I'm not mistaken, the 28th.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. The 28th.
So this Tuesday, DNF Duel will play. We'll drop and we will play, and we'll let you guys know next time.
Yep.
I'm excited. And there's always the potential for... We don't know what ArcSys has planned. And it's really hard to guess, because no one guessed DNF Duel. No one guessed Dragon Ball Fighters. No one guessed Grand Blue. No, the only things we can, like, speculate on are things like Blaze Blue, and Guilty Gear is still, like, doing stuff right now, so we're not getting new Guilty Gear. So it's like with Fighters ending, and I believe Grand Blue, as far as new material is, I think they're also finished. Now it's Guilty Gear Strive is in the middle, is about to start its second season, so they're still in the thick of things, and DNF is about to get started. But you know, there's a lot of different branches of ArcSys that have made fighting games in the past that aren't doing anything right now. Like the Fighters team isn't doing anything really right now. Blaze Blue team isn't really doing anything right now, as far as we know, and as far as the public is concerned. They could have all kinds of things playing that we don't know about. So if you could choose one potential project for ArcSys to show off next, what would it be? Just one.
Blaze Blue, hands down.
Blaze Blue, like,
give me a Blaze Blue game, please. I just want an actual new Blaze Blue game. I feel like if anything, like, here's the thing. We were talking shortly at work about this, and with Capcom releasing their fighting collection game, and I think that there was a rumor online that they renewed a huge amount of their old IPs. Now, normally it's not uncommon for them to do that because obviously they don't want anybody else to take them. So they don't want anybody to take their Darkstalkers out of from underneath them, their rival schools and stuff like that. But the fact that they released this Capcom fighting it's like Gems collection or something like that, kind of gives people speculation that they might be coming up with like a brand new game from one of those old titles. So I think that before that happens, I think that Blaze Blue should definitely be a title that ArcSys should get going on. I mean, they're on fire, like you just said. I mean, think about it. Within the last, 5 years, they pumped out a good number of games. And
They've
again, when
all
I say
done
pumped
well.
out, I'm not saying like pumped out. Like, when I say pumped out, like you said earlier, it's not like they're just throwing them out the door.
No, I know what you mean.
They're definitely releasing good quality games, whether they're mainstays in the eyes of the communities for long periods of time. They're still going. And I mean, look at fighters like with the release of the humanoid Android 21, like we thought it was done. That may be the end, but still they still did like one more last hurrah to kind of get something going for fighters. And then now, like you said, we got Grand Blue, then you got Guilty Gear, and now we got DNF Duel. Like, they're definitely rising up. They're definitely on fire, and I think to keep that trend going, man, let's get a new Blaze Blue title out there. I'd say I would love to see another brand new title. But I think that the safe method would be right now, just on the off chance that DNF Duel flops, let's get a Blaze Blue title out there, another IP that people are familiar with, and another one that they could have coinciding while they're releasing all this stuff for Guilty Gear. Like, let's do that.
You heard it here first, folks. Loboberry Crunch, ArcSys, listen up. Blaze Blue is next on the list. If you drop in another game after DNF, it's gotta be Blaze Blue.
Or whatever. Cross battle. Or cross. Give us a cross. I don't care. Just not the other one.
Just not cross tag battle. Well, with that being said, I am tapped out of questions and topics. Do you have any other questions or concerns, Lobo?
They just DNF do well, please do well.
Just
I want you to do well. It's a guilty pleasure right now. I'm probably gonna play.
Well.
Even if the game is shit, I'll still play it.
For a little bit.
No, I will.
I bought games that I didn't like and played for like a week or two and then dropped. Like the newest King of Fighters. I played that for like 2 weeks and I haven't played it since. And it's a good game, but there's nothing wrong with buying games on the off chance that you'll like it and then you don't like it. That's just how it goes sometimes.
No, I agree with that. Like I said, it's just that's just a guilty pleasure me. Only because if this game does well, maybe we'll get like a console version of a Dungeon Fighter game. You know what I mean? Like,
that'd be cool. I feel like a lot of people would play it if it was on consoles.
I think that would be well. Dungeon Fighter is on consoles. You can download it and play it on Xbox.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's on It's cross compatible with PC and it's on Xbox. And I think I heard a rumor that it might be coming to Switch. Not sure that's like how true that might be. I mean, it definitely could run on the Switch with no problem. But yeah, I just want more Dungeon Fighter games because I just love the characters. They just look all cool.
Well, it sounds like they picked the perfect series to adapt into a fighting game. Then it's probably so many characters to choose from for one, and so many fans.
Let's do it.
But if that is all she wrote, then we can wrap this up.
We gotta wrap it up.
And so, with that, Lobo, I want to thank you for coming onto the podcast with me today.
Oh man, you know I love being a part of these, and by all means, anytime you need me, I'll be here.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And so, with that, I would like to reintroduce the one and only Loboberry Crunch.
Yeah.
And I have been Mick Whoopi Goldberg. And this has been the Bottom of the Pit podcast, where we look to the moon and swap our palettes. And we will see you on the next one.
The answer lies in the heart of battle.